How's it going, everybody? This is Artemis, and I have all the members of the GF podcast with me, including Andrastus. Say hi.
What's up?
We have Ari here,
Hey,
and we have Alfarius,
What's up?
who is joining us from the depths.
finally.
From the depths of California?
Yes, from the depths of the
From the
universe.
bottom? From the asshole?
And today we have a really, really interesting topic to be talking about. I was on GameSpot the other day, and I was reading this really interesting article coming from a former Bulletstorm developer, and Bulletstorm is kind of forgettable, but whatever, because the quote was actually
That was not forgettable.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Well-
I like kicking people in that game, but
Excuse
there
me.
was a really, really
Find
interesting
in that
there was a
game.
really, really interesting quote from. Let me actually. I'm totally prepared here. It is from. I'm totally going to mispronounce this, but Adrian Chmielars. He's a former creative director on Bulletstorm, and he works at People Can Fly. And he was talking about the concept that paying $60 for a game in 2014 is insane. And this immediately caught my eye because I've also been thinking about this, and really just wanted to start up a discussion on what everyone here thinks about it, considering we all buy games, and after the rise of kind of the indie scene over the past several years, and the fact that whether you're playing on mobile, you can download games for free or pay $1 or $2, to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and PC where you're paying $50 to $60. There's a pretty wide spectrum in terms of price for those people who say that gaming is horribly unaffordable. So what do you guys think about this? I will bring up the quotes in a bit, but starting with Alfarius, why don't we start with you? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Do you agree with him?
Yeah. Considering you have a game like Child of Light versus, I don't know, what game? I mean, there's plenty of $60 games out there that have like Titanfall, for example. Like, that's not really worth $60.
Well, Titanfall is a multiplayer only game,
Yeah.
and maybe
But you're
the
paying
standard.
$60 for a multiplayer only game, which I think is a little ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, it
There's a lot of
certainly
games out
depends.
there.
Like, it certainly
Well,
depends
no
on what you're
problem.
playing. I mean, I think. So, I mean, does that mean for a multiplayer only game or a single player only game, it's definitely insane, or does a game need to have a single player and a multiplayer for it to be worth 60? I mean, what do you think?
Well, like the thing about Spec Ops: The Line and the newest Tomb Raider is that people were like, "Why did you include multiplayer on this? This multiplayer sucked. Your single player perfect was campaign, and then you attached this suckage to it."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's kind of what happened to justify that price tag. A lot of the time, a lot of developers just slap, especially last generation. This happened a lot. Developers were kind of just slapping on multiplayer to everything. I mean, Tomb Raider got it. I remember thinking Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, the first Assassin's Creed game to include multiplayer. I thought that was just going to be slap on multiplayer, but it turned out to be pretty good. I think Dead Space did this. Where although
Space too.
some people did like it, but there's always that
I thought it was
small
okay.
audience. There was always that small audience that does like the multiplayer, and then there are some that are just garbage. Tomb Raider's multiplayer was horrible in my opinion. I tried it, and it was
Yeah.
just. But yeah, it's clearly a single player game that should have just focused on single player. But especially considering like the price options, it seems like for those people who are complaining that $60 is too much. I mean, there's a lot of options for you.
Well, not just that, but like it's really hard to just put a price on a game because you're putting a price on artwork and people are spending time and effort into making this. Like a lot of people will complain about Gone Home, which is about a 3-hour game the first time you play it, and if you actually listen to all the diary logs and
yeah.
stuff, being $20. But at the same time, it was a team of 3 or 4 people who put about a year's work within this.
Yeah.
So yeah, $20 kind of makes sense.
Yeah, what I find is that I'll speak briefly about Journey, which is honestly one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's just and everyone here has played it and has seen it, and I don't think there's going to be any much debate there. And that game came out for $15, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it was about a 2-hour experience.
Yeah.
And for me, it was one of the strongest experiences, and even 2 years after playing it, it's still one of the most memorable for me.
And people still complain about it only being 2 hours long, but it's still only $15. Like, if they charge like 30 or higher, I would understand.
Oh yeah, but people were even complaining that 15 was too much for a 2-hour experience. So I mean, we don't exactly have a comparison chart or this is the standard of every hour I should be getting charged this. Like every hour of gameplay, there's nothing like that. So
there isn't a standard, and I don't think there ever will be.
No, and there shouldn't.
all
I think
subjective.
you kind of expect it because if you think about movies, you pay about $15 at the movies for the tickets and the popcorn and everything else. and those are about 2 hours each. So I mean, but we're totally fine with that. So
and that doesn't even include the fact that, okay, unless you watch the movie over again, games have replay value. You can replay through them again to oftentimes they have unlockables, they have things you can find, and so that adds like additional replay value. While movies, you're pretty much, unless you're going to go into like special features in like the menu.
Yeah, sometimes you watch it twice. I don't know a lot of people who watch movies more than 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, unless you're my brother and you watched Star Trek 13 times.
Yeah, well, there are exceptions.
Who did that? There are exceptions. Absolutely, there are exceptions, and there are exceptions in games. I mean, look, how many times, Alfarius, how many times have I bought The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion?
Oh God.
No, like I'm thinking 14 to 15 times in my life. It's just.
Oh, you bought Ultimate Marvel like 4 or 5 times.
Oh yeah, and so there are absolutely exceptions, but I mean, especially considering the growth of the indie scene, we really have been getting those smaller, like lower, like 6 hours or below kind of experiences, and we're paying $15 or so for it, $15 to $20 for these experiences, and I mean, I've normally thought that I'm getting my money's worth. I don't know how you guys feel. I'll briefly mention, games like Child of Light and Octodad, which are both like pretty short experience. Child of Light being around 10 hours and Octodad being around like 3. I feel like I got my money's worth. Or Outlast.
$20 right there for a 6-hour game that is so solid in how terrifying it is. If it had been any longer, it would have started to go into the
Outlast was your game of the year pick for last year.
One of them, yeah.
So and that's absolutely justified, that game. It's a good game. I don't know if it's my type of game, but it is a good game. Absolutely.
Not my type of game for sure.
But so again, is there credence to what he's saying here? That it is insane. Like it's just anyone who, like for instance, at 3 out of the 4 of us on launch day went to, outside of a little bit of a shipping problem, but other than that, we all went out and picked up Watch Dogs, $60 each on PlayStation 4.
Screw you.
So why did we do that? Like, couldn't we have waited for a price drop? Like, what motivated us to shell out the $60 immediately on launch day?
Well, honestly, I think part of the problem is right now is that we all have PS4s or Xbox Ones, and it's just like, there's a new game out. Finally, I can justify paying $400 to $500 for this damn console. Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
I don't know what you're talking about. I still have a PS4.
Although, hey, if you wanted to get Watch Dogs, it's on PlayStation 3. Like if you really wanted to play Watch Dogs right now,
I've never had much interest in that game, to be honest.
Yeah. So honestly, if you ever come over, you can try it. But
anyways, it was a solid idea, and legitimately, I bought it because from all the trailers and stuff, it seemed as if it had a main playable female character. Not a main playable female character, but a female character who played a large role in the story. And it did! Until she...
Yeah, so that means that one reason that you shelled out the cash for it is because you saw that potential for, like, the kind of storytelling that you want.
I shelled out $20 for Transistor, which is, I think, about a 3 to 4 hour game max. But that had a female lead, and that's part of my policy for the blog, is that if it has a female lead, I will shell out I will buy it on launch day, because that shows that I want more games like this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, creators of Journey, that game company, the makers of like Flower, Flow, and Journey, as I said, like pretty much the majority of the games that they're going to release for a long time, at least for the foreseeable future, will be downloadable, like $15 games. And for me, like Journey and Flower were so impactful, I'll probably buy all their games from now on launch day, because it's just, I know they're going to be of that quality and they're going to be that good. I just, there's no questioning it for me. But real quick, I want to quote, take a quote from the article and get your guys' opinion on it, because I thought this is almost makes gamers seem really like entitled and selfish, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. This is from, as I said, the creative director at People Can Fly for Bulletstorm, and he said, the saying in the industry right now is, if you want to sell a game for $60 to the player, it has to feel like $200. And of course, this is just talking about the value add of how gamers insist, $60, I better feel like I'm paying so much more. In terms of replay value stuff. What do you guys think?
I think that has to do a lot with older gamers. So people because I only started playing games on the PS2, and then I went to the 360, and then I got to the PS3 and the PS4. So I haven't been, in gaming, I really only been here like 4 to 5 years. You guys have been here, since you were since like the first Zelda game.
Oh yeah, for me it's a childhood habit.
Yeah exactly.
So
you guys, have seen the price go up, the quality go up, and the amount of time you're playing go up. So I think it's more of, well, I'm paying $60 now. I used to pay $30 for a game. I expect it to be twice as good, if not more.
Oh, the article in the '90s would have been. I mean, it's funny. Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo. I believe it was $85.
Yeah,
to buy.
games used to be more expensive.
Games used to be more expensive on older platforms. So
and
I'm not
considering
saying that people have,
inflation, they were really expensive.
yeah, I'm
back
not
in the
saying
day.
like people today don't have any right to complain. There are some games that retail at $60 that have absolutely no right to retail at $60. I'll give you one example. I'm a subscriber to GameFly, where rental games come to my door, and I just got the Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the mail
Why?
because I'm a Spider-Man fan, and I always try
But it's
to.
a movie tie-in game. They're always garbage.
No, but
They
I
really
actually
are.
enjoyed
They
the
really
first.
are.
I actually somewhat enjoyed the first Amazing Spider-Man. The swinging was fun and stuff. So I played it, and actually it's already on the way back. And the reason that is because, well, for one, you did say it's a movie tie-in game, but it's so similar to the first one. It's not doing anything new for me, and like visually, it looks like it's a PlayStation 3 game. Like there's no sense that this is a next gen. Which is, again, it's a larger problem going on. Like, people are just porting crap to next gen and going like, oh, this is the real next gen experience, and really it's just a port.
I
So,
think
I don't know.
I
I
think
think it
it's
also
on
really
this-
depends on what you're looking for in the game. Because my house, we have the Lego Movie, Lego Movie Lego game, which is kind of
Lego
fun.
movie, Lego game.
But we got it for my little brother. He's 4, and he loves the fuck out of that game. Like every day, he asks if he can play it.
No,
And
I've played
probably-
those games. They are pretty fun, actually. I don't care how old you are. They are pretty fun.
Not just that, but they're so ridiculous. Like you can be like for the Avengers one, you can be Captain America and hang out with the Winter Soldier and ride the Hulk.
Hang out with the Winter Soldier. I don't want to hang out with him. He's really violent. I don't like
Oh,
him.
he's really nice in the game.
Oh my gosh.
Come on,
Um,
come on. Killing them is just them breaking into little pieces. It's a really cute game. Not just that, but like I remember playing like the Lego Star Wars games for the different episodes, and those were super fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did play those together, didn't we, Ari?
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing that.
yeah. So do you guys agree with this statement? For you, if you buy a $60 game, does it need to feel like you paid $200 for it? Does it need to feel like you're getting that much?
No,
Probably
it-
not 200, but I expect a certain level of quality and persistent content. I don't want a game that I play and I feel like it's half finished, or
Mhm.
I don't want to play it and like see sloppy, lazy writing. If I'm paying
absolutely.
$60 for this, I want to make sure that the experience is rock solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we did just drop $60 on Watch Dogs,
Mhm.
3 of us, and like between the spider tank and between all the side stuff, and I do feel like I got at least $60 worth of enjoyment. I played it for like 4 or 5 days straight. Let's see, today's Tuesday. I actually played it for about a week straight. So yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like
and
I
there's also
definitely got
good
my worth out of it.
There is that promise of more DLC coming and stuff like that. Although that'll cost more. So
Oh, I always sold mine off to get
yeah, and that's
because
true.
I got this, and GameStop was like, "Oh, you get $42 in trade-in value for Watch Dogs."
for trading it in that first week.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, if I actually beat games that fast, I could actually take advantage of that. For me, like I'm so slow. And again, I just finished the first act of Watch Dogs.
that's because you keep
And it was
getting
fine. And it was fine.
distracted.
And it was I'm having fun. Actually, I'm starting. This is completely unrelated to the video, but I just started on the Share Factory for PS4. I just started a collection of clips called "Motorcycle Fails" in Watch Dogs. So it's pretty much just me doing like stupid crashes that cause me to fly halfway across the map, and like it's pretty hilarious.
Dude,
Make
I
sure
did
you
this
edit it.
crash the other
No,
day.
I'll edit it, and what you guys.
I tried to go under a sign, like one of the freeway signs, which didn't work, and so I went this way, my bike, and I'm like, what the fuck's my bike? I'm like, fuck it, I'll just grab a car.
Yeah.
I end up driving over my bike 10 feet away in another direction. I was literally...
This is why I like open world games. All these crazy things can happen. Okay, there actually is one more quote that I wanted to bring up because it also brings up some interesting points about kind of the developer mentality of and I feel like Tomb Raider was very, very much guilty. Square Enix was very much guilty of this. Just saying that basically, like, this game needs to sell as much as like the Call of Duties and the Grand Theft Autos for it to be worth making a sequel. And I'll read the quote to you guys and tell me what you think. So this is actually from again Alfarius' favorite developer in the whole wide world, Randy Pitchford, over at Gearbox. So let's go with the quote. Quote, "It's ceiling limited. It'll never do 20 million units. The best imaginable is a peak of 4 or 5 million units if everything works perfectly in your favor." So the bean counter goes, how do I get a higher ceiling? Referring to the ceiling being how much does the game make. And they look at the games that have multiplayer. They're wrong, of course. What they should do instead is say that they're comfortable with the ceiling and they should get as close to the ceiling as possible. Put in whatever investment required to focus in on what the promise is all about. So I guess to distill that quote down very simply, not every game is going to sell 100 million copies like Call of Duty.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Like
And
GTA 5.
Obviously. I mean,
Obviously referring to that ceiling of, some games just, there's that ceiling where they're never going to make like above that level of profit just because they're not on the same scale and they're not as popular. They aren't a first-person shooter, an action game, whatever reason you want to state. So I guess the quote's basically saying the developers need to be comfortable, like, okay, we can predict that Tomb Raider will probably sell around 10 million. We should do everything we can to make an amazing game to make sure we hit that ceiling.
Yeah.
So do more developers need to take this attitude? Is this, or is it healthy for developers to think, oh yeah, we only sell up to the level of Call of Duty, or it's a failure?
Honestly, I think that the creative developers, so the ones who are actually making the coding for the game and actually testing it and everything else, they need to be completely separate from the marketing people and the corporate people who are like, oh, it needs to make this much money or else it's not profitable. Mm-hmm. Because really, I don't think money should have a place in. I don't think money and thinking about profits and margins should have a place in creativity. And I think that if you do, you're just going to screw over the game.
I mean, it's not even that. It also has a lot to do with they're like, well, we really want this game to sell, really well. So what can we do? So let's slap on multiplayer because that appeals to this group. Then let's add in one character of color so that it appeals to this group. And they just keep slapping in these little tiny stupid things that don't actually enhance the experience. It just ends up making the game feel stretched out.
They gotta stop doing that.
Character diversity into it, such as characters who are LGBT or characters of color, women, is that they often, that is the only thing about them. They're the gay character. They're the black guy. They're the chick. And that's why it fucks them over. Because, like, Tomb Raider had really good diversity. It had multiple characters of color. It had multiple women who are all really fleshed out. And that's part of why I like the game. And again, like with Captain America 2, the Winter Soldier, they added in the Falcon, who is an African-American man. And they really fleshed him out. He wasn't just there to be the black guy that said, like, dynamite.
Well, exactly. I agree with you, Mari. I do. But what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to the development of these video games, they add in all these little things just to try to appeal to a wider audience without fleshing them out. Like the multiplayer for Tomb Raider. We all agree here that it was crap, that it was terrible. But they added it in because, well, they're going to pay $60 for this, so we might as well give them as much content as we can. When they did, and they didn't focus those coders, those artists, those developers on the single-player campaign, which was fantastic. But imagine how much better it could have been.
I mean, we were lucky that it didn't affect the overall game, but it could have.
Oh, and a lot of games where it does. I mean, I would argue.
And I think the thing about that makes the successful multiplayer successful in, say, the Assassin's Creed series is that they took it and they owned it. It is not a Call of Duty ripoff. It is you're working for Abstergo. You're becoming a Templar. You're training to become to learn how to do this stuff.
Well, it's not even just that. It's also with Ubisoft. They have so many studios working on this one game. When they have a multiplayer added in, they have an almost entire another studio doing that. So it's not like it's affecting the main game at all because it's done separately.
Well, no, it's also because they don't make it something that's a copy paste.
That too. Well, they started to.
And the Tomb Raider multiplayer, well, pretty much essentially something I would expect from Call of Duty. But
yeah,
I mean,
although Ubisoft started doing the copy pasting with the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood multiplayer, Revelations multiplayer, Black Flag multiplayer.
No, they just took the system they already had in place and they perfected it. They are enhancing the system they already have in place, which is something I would expect from a game company, because that's essentially what the Call of Duty multiplayer does. Is that it builds upon the previous systems and makes it better.
You know, I hate to say it, but Ari, to your point about how creativity and like game design, well, specifically creativity, like you said, and business should be separate. I hate to say it, but unfortunately, I think in the industry that time is past. I mean, let's look at Destiny's marketing budget of $500 million. Like that's the marketing budget, which is insane in my opinion. Because I mean, in fact, I even read an article somewhere that Destiny is the most expensive video game ever produced.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, just no, like, other than like Grand Theft Auto and maybe maybe like Call of Duty 4 or something like that, just no other game has had that much money pumped into it. And
the problem is when they hype it up that much, it never lives up to the hype.
Yeah, and like Watch Dogs, for instance, Watch Dogs has been marketed as the game that will define next gen. And I don't know, like, that's a topic for another video.
If I said it was going to run at 1080 and 60 frames per second, and then later on it came out, it's like, well. It's not like all the footage they showed of it, at E3 a couple years ago. It looks nowhere near as good.
I would say it looks good, and
it still looks good, but it's still like it's not as good as it could have been.
And again, I don't want to make this into I don't want to make this into a Watch Dogs video. That can easily be a topic for another video, whether it lived up to the hype. But it's just, and we all have said, like, I largely feel like I also got my $60 worth. There are two other types of games that we have not talked about though, and if we jump quickly over to the mobile market, again, I feel like all of us have taken briefly place into like paying $1 for a game and enjoying it. Like, in terms of, do you guys have like an example of an experience where you're like, yeah, I paid $1, and I'm like, yes, I totally feel good I paid that $1.
I do actually.
Because like, do your expectations get lowered because you only paid $1, or what do you think?
No, if anything, my expectations are lowered because it's a mobile game and I'm not expecting as much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's showing you the Dead Space game.
Oh, right. What is that?
It's a completely standalone story for Dead Space 2.
Yeah. Those are pretty good.
It has a female protagonist. The story was just as good quality as the actual games on the consoles. The controls aren't terrible by any means. I mean, this game, look at this. This is just the title screen. And it looks almost like the console game, like for the Xbox 360 era. It is so well done that I think that game was
what's the price on it?
Crap, I don't know if it'll
just
show me.
Ballpark.
Like $3-4, maybe $5.
And again, it's interesting. I'm not exactly sure, but like obviously Minecraft is like a huge phenomenon. There is a mobile pocket edition of Minecraft that you can play on like your iPhone and Android device, and I think it's only like $5, and you essentially get the entire Minecraft experience. Where in other places you're paying $20 or more to get access to this. So clearly mobile is very capable, and that is where a lot of casual gamers and we're getting a lot of new gamers in the industry who are buying games now because of mobile. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, actually,
I'm not into mobile gaming at all.
This is a game I want to use as also as a thing, but like there's this game for the iPhone called Republic. It's $5 for the iOS, and it is absolutely phenomenal looking. I mean, this is actually where I am in the game.
I mean, that's not even touching on the fact that graphics on mobile games are getting pretty great. Like, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, like it's fully voice acted. None of the characters, none of them look awkward or jerky. It is a fantastic game.
No, it shows you right there that high quality game development is taking place in the mobile space.
Yeah.
Which is just great, and for console gamers who are all doom and gloom, oh my God, mobile's gonna kill consoles. Like, honestly, like they're coexisting right now in a way that I think is fine.
Yeah, but for every one of those games, there's a dozen Flappy Birds.
Yeah. Like again, I love Plants vs Zombies.
Or worse games.
On my iPhone, I love Plants vs Zombies. It's like $1, and I'm getting the full experience that I love playing on my Vita. I love playing on my PlayStation 3, and I'll happily pay $1 to also be able to, if I'm stuck somewhere on my phone, just play some Plants vs Zombies. Like, it's only like $1 or $2, and it's awesome. I guess the only other type of game that I would talk about is free-to-play games, where there is no barrier to entry. Essentially, you just download the game, and I know all four of us have experience with free-to-play.
Yeah, like League of Legends and Warframe, these are both fantastic games.
Warframe
They're absolutely fun to play.
Yeah.
And I spent way too much money playing Warframe.
Yeah, and
you
so
can spend money, but you don't have to. And that's part of what I really like about it.
yeah, there's always that kind of argument of, do I spend money or do I just do a little bit more of that grinding to not have to spend money? And actually, Alfarius, I know you were actually quite into that free-to-play game on Xbox 360, World of Tanks.
World of Tanks, yeah.
That's also
not
free
so much anymore. I don't really play.
No, but while you had a period where you were very heavily into it, and like you really enjoyed
I
it.
never paid real money for it.
So again, like, how did you feel about that? Just like, did you feel like the game was pushing you too much to pay money?
I kind of feel like World of Tanks is a bit more of one of those games where you kind of have to pay real money to get anything out of the game. But I play Hearthstone, and I actually just got on the Heroes of the Storm alpha, and those are games I would happily pay real money for it to get extra stuff if I
like normally it's just a little bit of money.
Right now I play totally free, but it's easy to play free. You can totally do it, and you could. But it's nice to pay money too. So
yeah, like
those
models are good.
Really, all you can get for paying actual cash is like either a boost in experience.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy champions instead of having to walk for them.
Right.
But the way you get champions is by actually playing the game, because you get gold after every game match, whether you win or lose. So it's not exactly even grinding, because
it takes a while, but you'll get there eventually.
It's part of the game mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I definitely had this attitude going into Warframe where I'm like, God, I'd just rather pay real money right now. But honestly, now that I understand how the game works, and I've really been taught by you guys, like, and how to really maximize, like, getting the most you can without having to spend money. And now I just find myself, just grind a little bit longer and I'll get it. So like I probably have the least amount of experience on free to play here. You guys have probably all played more free to play stuff than I have. But I feel like to some degree every free to play game is guilty of this. I mean, for instance, there's a Warframe. I actually calculated it. There's a Warframe, I believe it's Necros, that if you want to buy him just with Platinum being the, like, you pay real money and that's the currency, the in-game currency you get for it, it's actually $25 for just that Warframe.
Yeah, some of the characters and heroes
which
are for
is
like $15.
absolutely absurd. Like, for an in-game character paying $25 for it. If that was happening on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, the internet would be in uproar about
Well, the thing about getting Necros is that you get them from a specific mission, and people can take you to that mission. Like, we've done that.
Yeah.
Because it's the Orcandelic assassination mission. You can look for people who are doing that, and you can be like, hey, can I come with you? And they will be like, yes, you can come with me. And
it's essentially the characters that are the hardest to get, the characters that you have to grind the most. Like, that's the people that are quite expensive. I think it's like 375 platinum, which is about $25, and that's
no, I don't think it's that hard to get him, because you need the chases, the helmet, and the systems, and the blueprint. The blueprint you can just pay the credits for. And so then you're talking about 3 parts, and that's doing the mission about 3 times, maybe a little more if you get the same parts. But then the extra parts you get, you can sell off.
Yeah. So, but I guess
some of the skins in Heroes of the Storm are like $10. So.
Yeah, well, I guess the broad point I was trying to make is I think to some degree every free-to-play game is guilty of nickel and diming some players, or giving you the option just like, you know what, just pay us $25 and all your problems will go away. You don't need to grind, like, and of course, I guess if you're willing to pay that much, I suppose maybe you shouldn't have to. But I mean that's kind of a debate for another video. But I mean, is there a certain skew? I feel like for me, it really the core answer to this question is really based on what platform you're on, because which sounds kind of ridiculous, but I will say that if you are on PC, I think to some degree it can be a little insane paying $60 for a game. Look at the Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's
where you can pay like $5 or below for like 5 or 6 fantastic games. Oftentimes, like, look at other things as well.
Yeah, but then like I'm gonna use Skyrim as an example, because a lot of people I follow personally on my personal Tumblr play Skyrim on the PC, and they're talking about like the and they're talking about these mods that you can get, like the realistic mod, where literally you have to make sure that you don't get frostbite and die from frostbite, and they make the dragon combat even better, more realistic. And so yes, you're paying $60 for a game, and you're possibly paying more for the DLC if you don't get it during like the summer Steam sale where it's all bundled up. But at the same time, then you can get all these mods, which make the game infinitely better and infinitely more fun to play, and give you infinite more stuff to do.
Yeah, again, that platform point I was trying to make really is just trying to say that. For instance, I remember when I was an Xbox gamer. I remember seeing games that had been out for 2 or 3 years, and they were still retailing on the digital store for $60, which is hilarious because you could walk into GameStop and you could get the same game for $20.
Well, that's a problem with a problem with the digital stores on the actual consoles. They're not keeping up with the retailers. They're not keeping at least some of the retailers, like Target. They're not keeping up with GameStop either when it comes to price drops.
Yeah.
But GameStop, Amazon, all the actual video game dedicated stores, Steam, they keep up with these things. They drop the price accordingly, and they don't make you feel like you're being ripped off for these games. That's why I don't think that digital games per se will ever truly be all there is, unless Microsoft and Sony finally wise up and go, oh crap, this game isn't selling well, we should drop the price because people aren't going to buy it.
You know, the interesting thing about last year is Microsoft, their whole DRM, always online thing with Xbox One, their original vision was you could actually trade in digital game. Like, if you bought a game digitally on your console, you can trade it in digitally and get credit, like, straight from Microsoft, which is pretty radical of an idea for the console space. Like, I mean, Steam gamers are probably already used to that, but for console gamers, like, that is a pretty interesting and feature that I think eventually will be incorporated. But I guess what I was trying to say about PC is just there's so many more options for getting games on the extremely dirt cheap. While consoles, you often have to pay, $10 or $15 for our cheapest games. So, it's just kind of an interesting point. Was there any other points that anyone wanted to make before we close out the video, or?
Actually, I want to say something earlier about how the whole entitlement thing, I guess, was just that I think the reason why people want more out of their game is because, if you hadn't noticed, the economy sucks.
Yeah.
People are trying to, make their dollar stretch further. So it's like, yeah, if I'm going to pay for this entertainment, I want to get my money. I want to get my bang for my buck. I want to get.
That's probably where that $200 quote came from. Is the fact that people are trying to stretch the dollar, and it absolutely. It is a time to stretch the dollar for a lot of people. So, but on the other hand, that's why it's so nice that the industry has kind of broadened to where, it's like if you only have $1 that you can pay, go buy $1 mobile game and you'll get a pretty good experience. Or, go buy Child of Light for $15 and, or go buy, some games come out retail for like $30. Or go to the Humble Bundle and get like 10 games for like a few bucks.
$20.
So, I feel like the purchasing options are, crazy. So do we have a definitive answer from each one of us? Is it insane in 2014 to pay $60? Is there a definitive answer?
I don't think it's insane, but I do think that there's definitely an element of buyer beware.
There is a definite element of buyer beware. Such as Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes was $40 for a 40-minute gameplay demo. And that's just completely insane. And
sold really well, by the way. So gamers bought it. So be prepared to see that more in the future.
And Titanfall was $60 for a multiplayer-only game. And not everyone is like us who pays attention to this stuff, reads the reviews, figures out what they want, and then goes and buys it.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't have the time for that.
That corporation kind of launched at us.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't have the time for that. My dad bought Titanfall. He didn't know this was multiplayer. It doesn't actually say it anywhere on the box that this is a multiplayer-only game.
Which is really, really, really strange when you think about it.
Yeah.
I think since they were marketing it as a multiplayer-only game, that would have been like one of the first things they actually put on the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think buyers beware is a really shitty way to approach gaming.
But there is an element of it there.
Yeah, and I'm saying that's a shitty thing to have.
It is. Oh, I agree that it's shitty.
You don't ever have a buyers beware for movies.
Yeah, that's true. For me, my definitive answer is is paying $60 in 2014 for a game insane? My answer is most of the time, yes, it is insane.
Okay.
Because you can go to a digital store, you can get a cheaper game that is oftentimes better than the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is retailing right now for $60. Alfarius, do you have like a definitive answer for?
I think it's just.
Is it insane?
I don't think it's insane. I think it's just situational. I think there's some games where charging $60 for it is insane, and there's some that maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's very much dependent on the product.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for your opinions. I really, really appreciate you guys stepping in and offering your opinion on this. And please go subscribe to the Gaming Feminism Tumblr blog. And there's always some awesome content on there. The link will be in the description to that. And this has been Artemis, Alfarius, Ari, and Androstis. We really appreciate you watching. And we'll see you guys later.
Thanks for following.
Yeah.
See you guys.